Okay.
Welcome, savages, pirates, and robot praying mantises, to the 246th episode of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 21st of February 2018, and featuring the Fourth Doctor Adventures, The Evil One, written by Nicholas Briggs, and starring Tom Baker as the Doctor, Louise Jameson as Leela, and Jeffrey Beavers as the Master. I am Bill Sylvie, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell,
I'm restarting my phone because it's being a putz.
the person who's trying to keep me from seeing the title, Randy Ronson McCulloch.
It's a turkey. They're turkeys. Giant turkeys.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke,
Soylent Green is people.
and Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Beware the sacrilege.
Shame.
All right. Yep.
Steal the moors.
Sorry about that, Bill. I actually had to check something about this, and I needed to copy it to put it into a search window. Yep, that's
Too
what I
long to
figured.
type. You have a pretty long title.
Yep, that's what I figured. Wanted to check something. I thought about the episode, but I'll talk about that later.
Gotcha.
But no, I'm ranting about turkeys is because in our front lawn we've been seeing these big turkeys, and I'm not talking like big as in, wow, they may go up to your knee. We're talking, wow, they go up to my chest. These are like giant dog-sized turkeys. They're huge.
The size of large dogs.
Yes.
Sounds like the beginning of a Doctor Who episode.
Well, from what we've been told is that this particular group of turkeys used to live up the road by the DOT building, and that's getting demolished soon. So they might
have scattered and looking for a new home.
Yeah, and they've apparently found our front lawn to be extra tasty because they've been here for about a week now. I don't know where they go at night, but every late morning, early afternoon, they're out there picking seeds out of our lawn.
Yeah, it's because our upstairs neighbor has a bird feeder. So we get all manner of interesting cat television on.
Yeah. It drives our cats nuts because the freaking squirrels and the bunnies and everything all come right up to the window. And the cat's just like there, and they're looking at the cat like, what are you going to do? Come through the glass? Come at me, bro. You know. They'll just run back and forth across our freaking porch as Bucky slowly goes nuts.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't tempt Bucky as soon as you open that door.
And now he has the giant turkeys to look at who could peck Bucky to death. They're that large.
It'd be like the time that the Roadrunner, the Wile E. Coyote shrank and he caught the Roadrunner, but the Roadrunner was like 20 times bigger than him.
These aren't large turkeys. They're small ostriches.
Why are there so many ostriches?
We play Conan Exiles. We know how dangerous ostriches can be. Oh, okay. So on tonight's show, birthdays followed by the news. Unfortunately, none of us here have actually gone to see Black Panther.
I had a chance yet. I have to poke my ride.
Hopefully,
the first day I planned to walk there, it was raining all day. And the second day that I planned to walk there, I ended up falling asleep instead because I was exhausted.
To be fair, I have seen a Black Panther once.
So have I in the San Diego Zoo.
So I was to say the zoo.
But no, also we've been plagued by, nasty freaking weather for the first part of this week. We're talking the point where it freezing rains, then it rains to melt that freezing rain, then it freezing rains again, so it gets the first part and what came afterwards in a giant sheet ice of doom.
I've had the opposite. We had a snowstorm like 6 inches on Saturday. Today was 70 degrees.
Yeah, yeah.
Tomorrow's supposed to be in the the upper 20s, low 30s.
So just like a freak day, heat wave day.
Yeah.
I had this theory that I had last year that we're completely done with seasons now. That
Mother
like
Nature just tossed all the cards in the air and gone, whatever season.
yeah.
I feel like you live close enough to New England that should have always been a feeling.
Mhm.
Well,
Yep.
technically, Tim lives what in the Mid-Atlantic region.
I don't know if it has a
No,
region
no,
name other than yeah.
New York City is pretty close to New England. It's like right on the.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I
it's
thought
still considered the Northeast, just not New England.
I thought it was considered Mid-Atlantic, which was like New York, New Jersey. It's like through Maryland, I think.
Maryland.
And then after that, you get into the northern South, which starts with Virginia, North Carolina, and then heading down into the deep South.
Yep.
From what I've heard.
Alright. Anyway, outside of regional.
Yeah, and then heading west, you go into the Midwest, and then the Great Lakes.
Outside of regions,
then-
Randy.
Yes. And then you get to the Pacific Ocean,
Then you get to
and then you get to
And I'm going to
Japan,
start muting you
and then
both and just
Korea.
go on with the news without
Oh,
you.
I know. I was just going to end this by saying
Yeah.
eventually you get down into the Southern California region where it's always warm and occasionally on fire. But
Fire.
yes. Anyway, so yes, there's not going to be Geek Talk tonight because we've got really nothing else to talk about. I had a rant, but I lost it, so I'm not going to bother with that. I think it had to do about the weather anyway, and we just discussed that.
Meh. It's not even worthy of a rant. It's weather.
Yep.
Alright, birthdays.
Anyway, as I was saying, then we have our episode review, final thoughts, and ratings. So yes, to the news and birthdays. Before Matt decides to pull out a cattle prod, even though that's my job and not his.
Oi, you want to get
the
this show rolling or not?
We have plenty of time tonight. Anyway, the first birthday is on the 16th of February, where we have two. The first one is the birthday of Christopher Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor from 2005, turned 54.
Yay.
Chris has continued this year in his role as Maurice Scott in the BBC drama The A Word, and is scheduled to be the titular character in this year's version of Macbeth, as performed by the RSC. That's the Royal Shakespearean Company, by the way. So yes, I'm not in it, so I will say Macbeth and not that Scottish play.
Ooh.
Like I said, I'm not in it. I'm not in it. I'm not making it. I don't have anything to do with it. They can't curse me. Also, on the 16th of February is the birthday of Jeremy Bulloch, who played Hal in The Time Warrior in 1974, I think.
74 or 73, something like that, yeah.
And then is, of course, the physical body of Boba Fett in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. He turned 73. I haven't seen anything in particular for him, so I assume he's either acting on stage or is in semi-retirement and enjoying the life of going to science fiction conventions all across the globe.
Oh, I'm pretty
still
sure he's
checking
enjoying
that
those
bottomless
conventions.
pit for Han Solo's body.
I'm pretty sure he's enjoying those conventions because he still wears the Boba Fett suit.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know he goes to the conventions. I'm just not sure if that's what his primary income is these days.
Unsure.
Or whether he is doing stage or that. I mean, he's only 73.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike the birthday on the 17th of February, Philip Latham, who played Barusa in The Five Doctors, who just turned 89. Philip is retired, so nothing new from them. Let's just hope he keeps hanging in there because he's an example to the other Doctor Who actors who haven't died of cancer yet.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention he's a decent Barusa, even though he turned out to be a twisted one.
Mm-hmm. And our last two birthdays are on the 20th of February. The first one is Anjali Mohindra, who played Rani Chandra in the Sarah Jane Adventures, turns 28.
Gosh, they're in their
Anjali,
20s now.
yeah, has done a lot of bit parts here and there, mostly recently appearing in the BBC Two comedy series Revolting. I
Hmm.
haven't seen much else from her, but it seems like she's just doing parts here and there.
She
Nothing,
played Ronnie, not the Ronnie.
not the
Yes.
Ronnie. Ronnie, that's why I said Rani Chandra, not the Ronnie. It is a bit of a
And people go around in
confusion, and I'm
circles.
wondering why they decided to use that name. I think somebody didn't realize that there was already a character in the Doctor Who universe by that name.
That or they just decided to drive fans in circles for no reason.
All right, and the final birthday is that of Anthony Stewart Head, known as Mr. Finch in the episode School Reunion, but best known as Rupert Giles in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Hmm.
He
Also a
turns,
centaur one time. 2
he
times.
turned 64. Tony's keeping himself busy. He's been playing Lord Silvestro Capulet in ABC's period drama Still Star-Crossed, which is kind of a sequel to Romeo and Juliet. And he has also voiced the angel Raziel in ABC's supernatural drama Shadowhunters. And this year, he will voice Alfred Pennyworth in the upcoming DC animated direct-to-video film Batman Gotham by Gaslight.
What took them so long to get him as Alfred? That is
I know!
absolutely perfect.
Mind you,
Yeah.
I've been kind of blah on the whole Gotham by Gaslight idea. Then I discovered Anthony Head is being Alfred Pennyworth, and I'm like, oh, I have to watch this now.
Mhm.
If nothing else for that Alfred.
Who
Yes.
was Alfred in BVS and Justice League?
Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, that was Jeremy
Ah.
Irons.
Well, if he ever retires
Jeremy Irons when he
from
has a fun time.
Alfred, Tony Head should permanently take on Alfred, or you know what I mean, like full time.
hmm
Who was it in the Nolan films?
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Mhm.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, it's
That's
like I know the
actually-
face.
Yeah, it's actually where they got the I think where they get a lot of the kind of Cockney accent or lower class accent for Alfred.
Yeah,
I noticed that he kind of popularized that at least.
Yes, that is correct. That wasn't really a thing because before that we had Michael Gough as Alfred, and he did the upper class butler accent, and that held through the animated series.
hmm
Which
He was just so good at it.
Mm-hmm.
He was probably the best part of even the bad Batman movies.
I'm interested in Gotham by Gaslight. Sounds like a kind of neat little twist on it.
By the way, Alfred was originally played by Clive Revel in the first 3 episodes, and then by a person by the name of Ephraim Zebulus Jr., who died in 2014, by the way. So
Hmm.
we won't ever hear that Alfred again, sadly.
No.
Anyway, so happy birthday, Alfred, Anjali, Philip, Jeremy, and Christopher. Moving on to our episode news. There's no lost stories. We've had no deaths that we've had reported to us.
Yay.
And we do have some news. Aaron?
Yep, we have a new visual FX company is part of the huge I guess revamp or rollover of staff for the upcoming series, series 11. As Stephen Moffat leaves, he'll also be taking with him Milk VFX, which was part of the Mill before they became their own company. So
That
and of
actually
course-
answers a big question of mine because I knew the Mill did VFX for Doctor Who, but then I kept seeing everything courtesy of Milk VFX, and I'm like, who the hell are these guys?
Yeah,
No,
I
know.
believe it
They
was
spun
the
off
subject.
from the Mill.
Yeah, it was the subject of quite a few podcasts actually, where we were trying to investigate who Milk VFX.
There were a couple
was.
times where we thought it was a typo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now we know better. Now we know that that's a spin-off company from the Mill, probably designed specifically to handle Doctor Who's special effects.
So
And
they
this
apparently had a
information,
rough start.
this information is coming from Cultbox via visual effects producer Louise Hastings. So, and it's just, as I said, part of the general rollover of staff. So Twice Upon a Time is going to be the last time you ever see those types of effects from Milk VFX, at least in Doctor Who, until further notice.
Now, I know one of us on the podcast have had issues with the regeneration always being the same.
Yeah.
Now
Couple
that
of
there's
us,
a
yeah.
new visual effects studio in operation, that's probably going to change when we see Jodie Whittaker turn in the sonic screwdriver to somebody new. I suspect her regeneration will look different because it's not going to be done by Milk VFX.
Yeah. I'm actually becoming a bit more excited. The more photographs I see, at least of the posters that we've been seeing lately. Speaking of which, moving on to the next news item. Doctor Who Series 11, according to Cultbox, will start later than thought. One of the posters viewed at, let me see here, BBC Worldwide Showcase, which is, it's a big kind of meeting, is it a convention? It's not a convention, it's maybe a conference. Yeah, it's a showcase for corporations, basically. Showing off a poster behind Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall, and behind them the poster reads October.
It actually says delivers October 2018.
I can't quite see it right now, so
I've blown the picture up so I could take a closer look at it. It says, Doctor Who, A New Dawn, Series 11, 1x65 and 9x50, delivers October 2018. We kindly ask that you keep what you see and hear in today's session to yourselves and that you don't use phones or recording devices during this session.
Well,
BBC Studios and BBC America co-production. Too late. Somebody photographed and didn't read.
Well, it's either that or
they wanted to leak it anyway, so screw you.
It was going to, or they let them leak it. It could just be a controlled
That
leak.
is possible too. It could be a controlled leak. The people there just said, "You want to take a picture of the background? Sure, take a picture of it."
There is no bank holiday in October.
Yeah, again, this
Dun,
is kind of a different production company, so they're starting whenever the hell they feel like it. All the rules that Moffat and Russell T Davies did,
out the window.
Out the freaking window.
Are we going to have a Christmas special? Is the Christmas special going to bump up closer to the end of the season? Could it possibly take place in the middle of the season?
It won't be the middle of the season.
Wouldn't be the middle,
or
no.
Closer, like
remember,
unless they do a
very
split
close to the
season
tail end.
Moffat-esque, but I think everyone would. Chibnall would be lynched before the second half came out. At this point,
at this point, it would basically. Let's say that starts at the beginning of October. Like, I haven't even looked at the.
You know what? If they have a Christmas
14...
special, it'll be immediately right after the next week, right after the finale. If they have 13 episodes.
Okay, let's assume, for the sake of assumption, that the other rumor that's been floating around that Doctor Who is starting on Sundays now is true, and they start Doctor Who October 7th. That gives them 4 months of October, 4 months of November.
4 weeks.
Oh yeah, 4 weeks. Sorry. Actually, not even that. Let's say it starts October 13th or 14th.
Then that would go right through Christmas.
It'd go right up to Christmas.
Yeah.
The very next week, they would have a Christmas special. So
how many episodes are they playing this year?
10.
Oh, they are only doing 10. So yeah, if they did push it back a couple of weeks, then yeah, it'd be right against Christmas.
Yeah.
Or Christmas would be, a couple of weeks afterwards instead of,
No. If they skipped a couple of weeks, but if they started right at the beginning of October, then yes, they'd have a couple weeks break.
That's what I'm trying to say. If they start at the beginning of October, then they would have a couple of weeks between that and the Christmas special.
Or they can just do this and they can end it on the Christmas special specifically stated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If they have one. That's the other
Mhm.
question. We'll have
That
to
is
wait and
the other
see.
question. Again, everything we knew is thrown out the window now.
We'll have to wait and see. Chaos
Someone
ensues.
played that Weird Al song.
Which one?
Everything you know is wrong. Black is white up and down, and short is long. That's the one you're thinking of?
Yeah. I heard it enough times on Linkara videos. I don't know the name of it, but
It's Everything You Know Is Wrong.
that makes sense.
I know that song very well. It's not my favorite Weird Al song, but I know it. Came out,
Alright.
I want to say somewhere around the lines of Alapalooza or the album after that.
Anywho.
Maybe it's straight out of Linwood, or
Alright.
straight out of Linwood. I don't know.
Well, speaking
Next
of
one.
visuals,
Boom.
BBC Worldwide has released the new logo for Doctor Who. And we've got a quote from Rafael Pereira, who's the executive creative director, has this to say about the new logo. The Doctor Who logo is the insignia are the quintessential signifier for the brand. Our aim was to create modern and elegant designs that were anchored in the things that we love most about Doctor Who. Circles!
Circles and lines!
Circles and fires and looks like asteroid things if you watch the actual trailer below. So, but yeah, I actually, here, let me see.
She's standing on rocks.
Yes.
You can see the outline of her boots and her coat.
Yeah, I like that photo.
I think they got the TARDIS in the background. Yeah, there it is, over the hill.
That poster.
It's interesting
And this
looking, I'll
was
give them that
revealed at
much.
Worldwide's annual showcase event in Liverpool. Yeah, I'm interested in it. I like it. I think the circle is supposed to be an homage to the Gallifreyan alphabet, I believe. The circle and the line.
I don't know, that's a bit of a stretch.
Matt, if you could, I don't know if you could find any examples of that, Matt, but
There's plenty of examples, and we have it in our own title card. But saying that it looks like the Time Lord font is a bit of a stretch. There's a lot more to it. It's like very fiddly.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, just to show the people at home, this red stuff underneath the word podcast, that's the Time Lord font.
Yeah, I
It's like circles within circles with loops and extra things. Yeah, it's a little bit more fiddly than that.
If I had to guess at a reason, and there doesn't necessarily have to be one, but I would think that the fact that pretty much everything on social media is using circles now would be motivation for a marketing team to make a circular version of the logo.
Yeah, and I personally dislike the logo myself.
Oh, this logo down here. No. It feels like half it's gone.
They are missing the doctor's portion of it, unless
and the circular one, yeah.
Well, yeah. Does the circle with the line spell doctor in Gallifreyan alphabet?
No. If you look at
that
the full
is
version,
stretching hard.
You need to really stop trying to stretch that, Aaron, because
she's gonna pull
a muscle. That
that
rubber band just broke.
It broke. It snapped and hit someone in the eye.
If Aaron can't go to work tomorrow because of joint pain, we understand why.
Hey, how did you know I was having joint pain?
Aaron, you need to do warm-up exercises before you stretch that hard.
No, my main issue with the logo is that it looks a lot like other logos currently out there, and there's nothing distinctive about it.
Yeah, it's not distinctive, and it's a little bit too cleaned out. Because I was looking at the top picture, I wasn't looking at the circle one until now. It's
the top one. The top one I like a lot better.
Yeah, I like the top one better, but this one, this middle one.
No, I don't like either one. I don't like either one because they look like other logos we've seen for other shows.
Yeah,
I mean,
they still look a little too clean cut, but I like the first one more than the second one. The second one just looks like who?
Doctor Who News is actually confused. This is a logo for the World Health Organization.
Well, That explains everything. Good night, folks.
It's the WHO doctor and not Doctor Who.
The Weird Happenings organization, whatever. But no, I mean, if you think about Doctor Who logos in the past, mind you, the early 60s, the logo was pretty basic, but that's because
Kappa.
things were pretty basic back then. But then you look at starting in the Third Doctor era, the stylized Doctor Who that's still used on classic DVDs to this day. Then you have the square Doctor Who logo that we saw through the Tom Baker era. And then the neon Doctor Who logo. And then the early CGI one used for Sylvester McCoy. All of them are very distinctive, completely different from anything else on TV at the time, and exceedingly iconic.
And then we got the new Who, and the first one was okay for its time. That it stood out in the crowd.
Yes, it was. Although many people at the time said it looked like somebody just whipped it up in Photoshop 2 weeks before filming. But they got used to it.
Then the next one was during the Matt Smith era, and that was just kind of like a WD on a TARDIS.
Yeah, I'm not as much of a fan of that one.
I was never fond of that one. I eventually grew accustomed to it.
But it was never like really good.
If you haven't already, are you able to pull up a progression chart of some sort showing all the logos?
Let me go to. By the way, I'm going to announce this right now. We're using a new image service because Google changed their image service now.
I noticed they did that.
We're now using DuckDuckGo.com, and they're pretty much just what old Google used to be.
Oh.
Doctor Who logos, images. Here we go. Oh, there's a nice one. And I'm going to share that in the rest of the chat. And yeah, matter of fact, yeah, it's all of them out to the recent one. Boom. By the way, thank you, VXC, for giving us DuckDuckGo. He's the one that led me to it.
So yeah, you'll look at these. Now, whether you like these or not, I noticed the later, like, Capaldi era, did drop the big
DW, and it just went with Doctor Who, and it was its own font type at least. But otherwise, it's meh.
Yeah. The thing is, starting with the third image, each one of these logos will stick in my head.
Especially the fourth one on for me until about the first New Who.
Yeah, but even the other ones will stick in your head.
Right.
Not enjoy, but it's instantly, recognizable.
Yeah, like I said, they're very recognizable, and I liked them a lot until we got deep into New Who, and this is like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about like Matt. I'm just talking about the iconability of it, just how recognizable it is. Just based on,
like, if you saw a parody of it, you would recognize, oh, that's a parody
that's
of
what
the
they're
Doctor
making
Who
fun
logo.
of. Yes.
Which one's the Zeppelin one, Vixie? He says he likes the Zeppelin one.
Probably. Well, if you mean like
that's
Zeppelin
probably
as
the
in
third,
like a shape,
the third logo on the top with the funky background makes it look like a Led Zeppelin video.
That's what I was wondering, if it was like
said.
Led Zeppelin or
bottom left, so he means the New Who one.
As in the blimp shape, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I was originally thinking.
That one's alright. I know some people, like we just covered, some people didn't like it, but I was fine with it.
They tried to replicate some of the little notches with Jodie Whittaker's one. They tried to replicate some of the notches with the stylized cross across the H and the notch across the D. You see kind of stylized in the
I see what you're reaching for. Yeah.
Just that the one with especially the movie one, and then of course the third Doctor one, which are almost identical. But it seems like they tried to, work with those, because other than the psychedelics, obviously, of the Third Doctor, there's the Third Doctor's logo is pretty kind of plain-ish. Those are.
I don't know, because if you look at like the Eighth Doctor version, that's still pretty iconic.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty
Yeah.
iconic. It's
That's
almost
yeah.
exactly the same thing. It's just that it was a really interesting title because it was also
Mhm.
CG and it moved at the screen when it was
The
done.
question,
Well,
the
I'm not
question,
saying that necessarily makes Whitaker's iconic. It just kind of. I think they tried to pay an homage to it. I'm not sure if it's successful though.
Yeah.
I do still like the simplicity of it, but I can
But
see why
it lacks
people
a certain
would
amount of
enjoy it.
pop.
It does. It's very small.
okay.
I mean, look at how bombastic Tom Baker's, like the Fourth Doctor's logo is.
Mm.
Okay, so the next question is if you were in a foreign country, one that possibly doesn't even use a Roman-based alphabet, and you saw a advertisement for Doctor Who or a Doctor Who novel on there in that language, looking at each of these logos, would you be able to recognize it based on the logo? The first two Doctors, no.
Not so
No.
much.
No.
Third
Third
Doctor, that
Doctor?
starts to do something. Fourth Doctor,
Mhm.
you can recognize that from a mile away.
Definitely, yeah.
Fifth, Sixth Doctor, recognize
Fifth and
those.
Sixth Doctor, a lot of things looked like that in the 80s.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's. I don't know. I don't think that those are
It wasn't.
really
It
that
wasn't hugely
iconic
popular, but it
looking.
was. It's not every day you see something like that either.
The
But
piped neon look, yeah, I've
it,
seen.
it started to become
I
a
feel
thing
like
in the
I've
80s.
seen it elsewhere, I should say.
By the way, apparently Dr. Arnold T. Blumberg at Doctor of the Dead on Twitter has confirmed that this logo is pretty much the font Futura Light with some added flourishes.
Oh, Vixie piped in the chat. If you watch the animation, the line across the middle of the logo is formed with the TARDIS flying through the logo and leaving a trail.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I actually
that's
watched
what
the
I-
animation for it.
Chemtrails.
Ooh.
Still doesn't do anything for me. It's just, yeah.
But
I am wondering
the
if
Seventh
that
Doctor, the
animation
Seventh
is
Doctor logo
actually
really
the
pops out.
opening, or if that's
It-
just something they whipped together.
To be honest, that's the one that I might not recognize in there because it's just the logo with the slanted thing on there. I could, if it was in foreign, I might not be able to recognize that one.
Might not be able to,
But-
but it's an oddball one to begin with. So.
But 9th, 10th Doctor logo, hell yes.
Oh yeah,
I have
9,
seen
10
that
Doctor
one.
logo.
I've
Yeah,
seen
definitely.
that one in Japanese.
Yeah, even the Japanese are like, isn't that the Doctor Blimp?
Mhm.
Yeah. The Matt
Borrow
Smith
from DC.
logo. The Matt Smith logo, like it or not, you see that thing in the middle.
Yeah,
you know
you can
exactly
recognize
what the
this
fuck
might
it
be
is.
the TARDIS.
Um,
The Capaldi one, ooh, that's hard.
maybe if they're using the same font, possibly.
Yeah.
This one, I don't think I'd know. I don't think I'd be able to.
No. And this new one, yeah, I definitely don't know. I wouldn't know offhand, but then again, maybe we just need to get used to it. Anyways, we're talking a long time on this logo.
Well, yeah, the
Yes.
logo. This is the biggest piece of news we've got. So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, that was the. That's my opinion on the logo. You all stated yours. We can move on now.
Yay, moving
Yay.
on.
So moving on up to the east side.
All
Oh, I
right,
see.
So,
Okay. Just watched a
weird-
quick second or
weird
two of the
website.
animation.
I believe,
This is the Portsmouth News.
yeah. Basically, Doctor Who has been spotted filming in Gosport. Which I actually have to. There we go. For some reason, the link didn't actually open into the story. So we've got a few pictures of Jodie Whittaker on set. They've
Where's
been
it
filming
called?
at
Ghost
Little
Spot.
Woodham Village.
Which I believe it also states was the site that the last Transformers movie was filmed at.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Not that that was a good movie. Apparently
No,
that one.
no,
that
I'm
one
not saying it was. I'm not
bad
saying it was a
reaction.
good movie, but it wasn't a. The movie's problems wasn't the filming location.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Little Woodham is a village styled on the 17th century. It was basically photographed by fans and Lewis Jeffries, who studies film industries and creative writing. And said he was obviously very excited about being able to get pictures of everything. So, since when have paparazzi been likable?
Yeah.
I guess he's not really paparazzi. He's just kind of a fan. But still.
Anyway, yeah, this was mostly just an article noting that this is where the filming's going on now.
Mm-hmm.
And this came out today, I believe, yes.
Yeah, and it being styled on the 17th century might have something to do with the plot, with them being in history.
Probably it's going to be a period show, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Could possibly be, but we'll have to wait and see.
I'm not going to say it's a true historical, but it might be a story happening in the...
Yeah, because we see Jodie Whittaker is actually dressed in, looks like a modern winter coat.
I don't even
Although
see
she
where
could
you
have just been rehearsing at the time, too.
Yeah, I don't even see where you see a picture.
Oh. There's a picture right here.
Right where?
I had to actually click on the actual story.
I love how you said right here as if Matt was looking over your shoulder.
Well, isn't he? Come on.
No.
There. Boop. I posted it in chat. Oh. The picture doesn't want to show up in chat. Alright, well, whatever.
Open original. It's just highlighted poo.
You failed.
Oh.
Yeah.
There we have pictures of her in her doctor outfit.
Oh, there we go.
There's her in her doctor outfit, and then when you scroll down, you have to scroll down past the sign up form. And you see her in like a modern winter coat, it looks like. But like I said, she could just be rehearsing, or she could just be getting to her spot before she changes into the coat.
I can't look until I disable ad block.
Yes, I know.
Yes, it's chafing my hinder too.
Yep.
I'm sorry, this, by the way, is the only site that was reporting it.
That's because they probably had it and were running with it right away today because they're local.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. It'll probably hit the other things tomorrow. Like, it'll probably hit Cult.
So we beat everybody else, is what you're saying.
Because I actually go out and look for the damn stories. I don't wait for them to come to us. I go looking for them. At least when I have time. Yes.
That's amazing.
All right. So there we go. Moving on.
But who watches the Randy?
So that's we finally come to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you know that the new Doctor Who, the Doctor is a woman? Apparently, not everyone knew this at first. Not even Milk VFX knew this. They didn't find out until everyone else did when they watched the Wimbledon final. Apparently, when they were given the storyboards for the regeneration scene, the drawing was of a man.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, like the actual regeneration wasn't shot with the main unit of Doctor Who, but the team at Milk had done the effect several times before as sorted generations. In particular, effects artist Nick Webber is credited as having designed the original work. But that's an interesting thing, that even the people working on the show didn't know what was happening on the show.
Yep.
Until it got announced.
All right.
Also, a bit of sad news. Composer Murray Gold has confirmed he is departing Doctor Who.
Now, we had reported this a couple of months back. This is just the
That he
actual
was most likely going to
confirmation.
leave. Yeah.
Yep, this is the actual
Mhm.
confirmation.
This is after confirmation. So it's like the reason is not clear, but it is. But it does seem that Chris Chibnall is bringing in a lot of his own team
Now,
from.
I'm of a
seems
mixed thought on that. I think both Matt and myself felt that the Murray Gold hadn't really been putting out anything of really great note in the last series or two.
For at least a couple of them, yeah. They've been he's been kind of coasting it.
Yeah, he kind of peaked with the Smith era.
Mm-hmm. But I didn't want the Chibnall to go in and go, okay, well, we're taking over, so you're fired. You know, I would have liked him to step down on his own cognizance here. I wish he would have had that option instead of just being, thrown out the door on his keister.
Was there a quote saying that's what happened, or?
It's basically assumed that Chibnall came in, brought in his staff, and basically said, no, we're not renewing you. Which
It's possible he may have been considering leaving anyway. But yeah, I could see that being possible as well.
And
well, because he had been quoted earlier saying he was ready to come back for Series 11.
Oh, I got you.
And also, I think the same article mentions that a bunch of the writing staff isn't coming back, but we all knew that.
Yeah. We've known
We
that for a
knew
while.
Gaddis wasn't coming back. We knew the other guys weren't coming back. We just, I didn't
They're
feel
setting
the
up
need
a whole
to.
new way of writing. Hopefully, that will work for them. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. We've been talking about it for months now, how he wants to go with this whole U.S. writing bullpen style thing. So.
So we'll see how that goes.
Coltbox says that they've known for a couple months from inside sources that didn't want to go on record, but since the Mirror is talking about it, they figured they'd go ahead.
That's
and
from
say
the
what they
original
knew.
article.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you'll notice the article has
Oh,
a
they
date
just
in
okay.
it, and the everything below that date's from the old article
Oh,
when
I
we
see.
reported it.
So it's only the first paragraph is
Right.
okay.
First
Got-
paragraph
oh, yeah,
is just
so
saying,
this-
yeah, it's official now.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
that explains why that part looked familiar. Okay.
Yep.
And his last episode was Twice Upon a Time, the Christmas special.
So everything we hear coming out of it will be from the new composer. Hopefully he can do a good job so we don't feel like we've gotten the shaft.
Yeah, we'll see.
But he has a really high bar because there's not much you can compose that'll top I Am the Doctor.
Yeah, you're going to have to pull something way out from somewhere deep, dude. Good luck.
Yep. So,
Next.
Bill, I believe you've got merchandise news?
Yes,
Merchandising.
merchandising, where the real money from Doctor Who is made.
These days, that's true. Wasn't in the classic era because the BBC
No, it
wasn't
wasn't.
allowed to make money on their merchandise. But BBC is not. Worldwide is.
In British news, Doctor Who, the flamethrower.
Ooh.
Is that what Elon Musk is selling?
Yes.
But the BBC has confirmed this via Cultbox that Doctor Who merchandise is with the new logo that was just unveiled is being sent to selected retailers right now. None of the actual merchandise is available or announced yet, but that means that somebody is already starting to work on things to take our money with, which we'll probably see well before Christmas.
Yay.
Oh, yes. So, yep, new merchandise coming out. I'm wondering how spoilerific any of it is. Or if it's just going to be Jodie and the announced cast in this go.
Just promise me we'll have another good new Sonic. That's all I want.
I really do, because they just introduced that Sonic and it looked awesome.
Yeah.
And he got
Better
to
be
use
good.
it for a season.
Better be freaking good.
Well,
And
it's
now
that
they're
Sonic, but pink. No.
Smack.
I don't think that would be taken well
Okay.
if that actually happened.
So, interesting news for our U.S. viewers, including ourselves, is that the 12th season of Doctor Who, Tom Baker's first season, is getting a Blu-ray release as a collection.
Ooh.
However, this
Wow.
collection's not coming to the UK, at least as far as
Huh.
we know. The announcement of this release has come to us from Warner Brothers and BBC America. If you know, Warner Brothers has been the distributor for most of the US-based DVDs before To Entertain took over most of the main job. And this is the first time that we've gotten Doctor Who on Blu-ray since Spearhead from Space released a few years ago. This is, of course, excluding New Who and anything that's come out like Shada. It's and especially since the original recordings aren't really high definition recordings, and it's kind of really a lot of work
To clean
to
them up and get them
upgrade
ready.
them. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, if they're doing this en masse, it might mean that they've found a good system for it. The set includes Robot, The Ark in Space, The Sontaran Experiment, Genesis of the Daleks, and Revenge of the Cybermen.
Solid season, except for maybe one or two of those.
A price of $59.99 has been set. Although e-tailers can discount that.
Yeah, you probably can find it on sale somewhere, or wait until it gets about a year or two old and find it on shelves for cheaper.
Mm-hmm. Hell, that's tempting even for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I have two of those.
$50 for some Tom Baker. Yeah.
I have two of those. I have the Ark in Space and I have Genesis of the Daleks. But to get them again in Blu-ray,
that'd be an eager
Revenge
birthday
of the
gift for me.
Cybermen, the Sontaran Experiment, and Robot in them.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, generally speaking, I'd be paying almost $60 to get those three on DVD anyway. But
at the very least, yeah.
Yeah, to get them on Blu-ray, hell, that'd be worth it.
Be the clearest image they've ever had.
Mm-hmm. You can sit there and watch Tom Baker debate over those wires.
As you see every curl of his hair.
All I need to do is cross these wires. And the Daleks are destroyed utterly. But do I have the right? Waver on that decision, Dom. Waver in glorious 1080p.
There's the right, but do I have the left?
I'll hurt you, Bill. I'll hurt you so hard.
Anyway, so, clear off your bookshelves for that.
Could be a big set.
And moving on to our Big Finish news.
Alright, so we've got the Churchill years. Actually, we don't have very much Big Finish news.
No.
We just have that one. Oh.
And there,
there was
Bill
added one before. Right.
Damn it, Bill! You messed up my steez. So, yes, we do have out now. We have the Churchill Years Volume 2. Of course, in the role of Winston Churchill is Ian McNeice, who actually studied, according to the interview video that is attached to this article, studied some of the television episodes so that he could get the voices of the various doctors that he is supposed to play. He could get them correct. He's got to play Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, and Matt Smith, both. Or all three of them. So
good luck with that.
So it's still all New Who. It's no classic yet.
As far as I could tell, yeah, because those are the three that he pointed out he had to play.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it looks like there's some, taking place in ancient history.
1941's not ancient history. Oh, that's not what you meant.
There's like something. Oh, they actually bring back Madame Vastra.
Anything before dial-up is ancient history.
They've got one young Winston. They've got human conflict.
We still have a rotary.
I was Churchill's double. Churchill victorious.
I was a teenage Winston Churchill.
Yeah, he seems pretty thrilled. The actor does too. He doesn't. He also seems kind of bemused. Like he did not expect this to take off or to go any further. He does mention in the interview that it is rather taxing to
Oh,
to
I
do
bet.
these audio dramas.
If he's narrating in the Churchill voice for 2 hours per box set,
Mm-hmm.
God,
I
you gotta
imagine
be,
that would
you
be
just
quite
gotta be,
challenging.
you just need like a
Well,
nap and a bacon sandwich after
here-
1 hour.
Here's the thing. Also, in that interview, he dropped the hint that they were possibly working on the next one this coming summer,
I
which
believe.
may also be released in the summer.
Big Finish is a factory. Like, it's just
Yeah,
Yeah,
nonstop.
just keep the
I'll be
machine
honest,
running,
he
pull in more
seemed
coal.
he seemed a little bit dismayed and weary that he would have to do this again so soon. Like, it wasn't enough of a break for him.
I'm kind
Well,
of
and
wondering.
he's older, so
I'm kind of wondering if they're going to turn around and be like, "Well, this one is 6, 7, 8 in war or something."
It's possible.
From the chat, Vixie, Harkonnen, surprised look.
So yeah, he seems quite happy with it, but at the same time, it is a lot of work.
It's probably
It
the most work
is.
he's had in a while.
And
Keeping him busy.
it is. It's Bill is right. Big Finish is essentially like a pulp mill these days. The modern equivalent thereof.
With lunches,
If you know what I mean by a pulp mill.
pulp magazines.
Yes, but they used to all the pulp fiction magazines back in the day, where they
Mhm.
just used to crank out, stories after stories or anthology after anthology. Now we have Big Finish that does the same thing with audio adventures.
Well, and here's the thing: is that the audio adventures are only a couple of hours long usually. And so once they're done, they're pretty much out of people's minds. So I think Big Finish is trying to keep abreast with internet culture and try to maintain people's interest by just
Flash,
doing
Flash,
what a lot
we got your attention, Flash.
by doing what a lot of websites do, and it's just constant updates. Even if they're just drowning out their own news, which means that they have to put out new articles about, hey, this, that thing we told you about 4 months ago, it's finally out now.
It's coming. It's only a week away. Here it is.
Are-
Here it is.
I wasn't talking about the news. I was just talking about how often they put out,
Well, yeah.
Well, that
Again,
could
that's
be
the
tied
part of
to
it.
it,
It's
too.
they got to keep the attention. They got to keep people's eyes on the prize.
They're not the main source of entertainment for the franchise. They're kind of, when Doctor Who is not on, you usually go to Big Finish to kind of supplement your
craving.
Whovian cravings, yeah. Or the books, look at Candy Jar Books constantly pumping out the
Lethbridge
the
Stewart. Lethbridge Stewart.
yeah.
They by the way are a true and proper pulp mill.
Yeah, pretty much at this point. They're even resorting to fans to keep the mill going. All right, next.
All right, next, and surprise, Benny is 20. Benny being Bernice Summerfield, which her stories, I believe, with Big Finish are celebrating their 20th anniversary. With a story so far, which will explore the chapters in Bernice's life. And it'll probably go back and look at some of the some of the people she's met along the way. So
It's got to be more than 20 years since her first VNA, so it probably is since 20 years since her time with Big Finish.
yeah, since Big Finish's first release back in 1998.
When they were still trying to get the Doctor Who license.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, she's been a companion of the Doctor. She's, a professor in archaeology.
A Formula One race car driver.
Yeah, and she's basically, she was like the companion before there was Doctor Who before Big Finish had the Doctor Who license. So what they couldn't say who she was traveling with. They could only say if she was traveling with the professor or something.
I think you might be mixing this up with some BBV stuff.
Yeah,
I think you're mixing
there was some
BBV.
Bill Bag stuff back in the day.
Basically how Big Finish started was they took all the Bernice Summerfield standalone novels, because I think Virgin spun them off from the Doctor Who,
Yes,
and
they
adapted those. Then Big Finish took their Bernie Summerfield adaptations to the BBC office. They're saying, hey, this is what we do. Can we do Doctor Who? And that's where Sirens of Time came from.
It took them a bit because the BBC wasn't originally going to let their top license out of their hands right away. And eventually they just, well, I guess it wasn't their top license at the time, but it was, still a prized license that was making the money in the home video market.
Well, I know next to nothing about Bernice Summerfield. I don't even know how she came to be or anything like that. So
something tied together with the Eighth Doctor. That's all I can remember.
She used to travel with Sylvester McCoy and Ace, and then she just grew into the mythology from there.
Oh, okay.
See, that shows how much I know about her.
Yeah, it's she started out as some Doctor companion when they tried to when they wrote Ace out by sending her to Gallifrey to train to become a Time Lord, which,
That was in the Virgin novels?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a little touch and go.
Then he picked up Bernice and traveled with Bernice for a while, and then left her, and then came back to her, and then regenerated. Well, actually left her regenerated, came back and picked her up. And then it was the Eighth Doctor and Bernice for a while, and she's basically kind of River's Song.
That part, by the way, was only the books. I don't think Big Finish has done anything with 8 and Bernice yet, even after 20 years.
Bernice.
Yeah, that was the books, and then I can't remember what they did after that because I stopped reading, because I know she left him to go off on her own, and that was where the spin-off novels went, and that's when things got really weird.
Yep.
Yeah, they weren't weird before. This was moderate for weird with the Virgin books. Then they went really weird.
Then they recently did a few box sets where she got back together with Seven and Ace. And then they did a few where she was stuck in the universe of the Unbound Doctors, which is a Big Finish creation. And I think that's where she is now.
Basically, whenever they want to sell a concept, they throw Bernice Summerfield at it. I'm sorry. Bernice Summerfield is one of those characters that hits my minor ire because she's, Little Miss can't do wrong. And I like characters that have some flaws.
I mean, she's an alcoholic with frequent blackouts. I consider that a flaw.
I don't know.
Your standards are too high.
Anyway, I think that's the end of our news.
Yep.
We filled up our geek talk with a Bernice Summerfield history lesson.
Yep. All right. So before we go into the review, there is a section I did want to do beforehand, and it has to do with the actual Doctor Who episode that this particular fiction is based off of, and that is The Face of Evil, which is the first episode with Leela, by the way.
Oh yeah, we do need to cover this slightly because of.
Yeah, just because, to put this in context, especially for some of you who have not seen this episode. Hi, Bill.
Yep.
And hi, me.
Oh, you've never seen it either?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh god, we need to fix this.
Okay. Well, yeah, that we were planning on doing this whole companions thing at some point, either next season or the season after, whatever. That would be like the first and final episode of each companion. It's a thought. It's a thought we're working on, but regardless, this is basically what happened in Face of Evil. The Doctor lands on this planet and discovers the fact that there's two tribes on this planet. Both are a little above Stone Age, but not much better. They're called the Tesh and the Seva Team. Leela is a member of the Seva Team, by the way, if you remember her announcing that in a few episodes. And they're basically fighting each other. The Seva Team seem to be a little more nomadic barbarians, or nomadic savages, while the Tesh seem to be based around a central city. After a few hijinks, the Doctor manages to infiltrate the spaceship. and that the TESH is short for Tex, and the SEVA team is short for Survey Team. If this kind of sounds familiar, there was a Star Trek episode with kind of a similar plot. Only that was the Yangs and the Coms. Anyway, he realizes the fact that the Tesh worship their god Zoannon, which is actually he has been mistaken through this entire thing as being the incarnation of this god because the god uses his face. The computer uses his face to speak to people because he, shortly after his regeneration, tried to fix their computer and imprinted himself on it. So
As you do.
So it thinks it's him. The computer thinks it's the doctor, or at least God, in trying to control these people. And with the help of the SEVA team, he basically destroys this god, whose name was Zoannon, which is why this comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Frees them, and Leela decides at the end to go with the doctor. Now, the reason this is important, of course, is because the name Zoannon comes up in this, in reference to the past. So this will put some of this in context where you're thinking, what the fuck this was about? Now you know.
I was wondering if that whole trial and Leela's father was in that episode as well.
They don't think that ever came up.
I think that might have happened like
Hmm.
shortly before things came to happen in
Gotcha.
the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Because Leela seems to be a little bit on the outs with her people still at the time. Oh, come on, Discord. Hello? Discord,
Hello?
Chris?
Discord
Hello?
bottomed out again. As I was saying, she's still on outs with her people at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, Discord, behave.
Oh yes, she was exiled for profaning the god Zoannon.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You don't tug on Superman's cape, and you don't profane the god Zoannon.
Yep. Anyway, so yes, that's basically the plot of it.
And no matter what
Is
you
it-
do, don't flirt on the god of the moon.
I can't remember. I think they might be forced to take that trial in the episode, but it wasn't Leela's father. It was like Leela and the doctor or something.
And the
like that.
doctor just walked it, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so.
Because of some sort of like psychic attack, mostly.
Yep. So basically, that's the basics that you needed to know for that. Is the fact that that's what when they start talking about Zoannon, that's what they're basically talking about, the computer from that thing that they worshipped as a god. So that might put some of this in better perspective to you guys before we start. Now you know. Now we can start. So, who wants to do the 5-minute challenge?
I was it last time, I believe.
And that was Bill, and before that was me.
So actually, I think it was Randy. Randy, you said you were going to do it this time, I believe.
Oh, yes, I did.
Unless
So I
Aaron
did.
wants to go.
No, thank you.
All right, give me a second to get this sorted in my head. We watched it earlier today, but all right, I think I'm ready. Let me take a quick drink.
Mm-hmm.
All right, lips are wet.
All right. Start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so the Doctor and Leela arrive on basically a luxury style passenger and cargo liner, space liner. And the Doctor intends to, show Leela the rich people that would have all this cargo. The problem is there's no cargo. And there's no people. Instead, what they find is basically a room full of dust. And one man with a gun pointed at them, frozen in place. Around this time, however, they're also stopped by a inspector. I believe it was for an insurance company that owned the liners, and he first believes that the Doctor and Leela were the ones that caused all this, but the Doctor manages to talk them out of it, and they manage to witness these insectoid creatures on the ship, and one of them takes Leela. After some finagling with and some forceful thing, the doctor and the inspector escape onto the TARDIS and are forced to flee back to their home base to get help in rescuing Leela. Leela, however, wakes up in a luxury room and is basically told that she's actually an assassin for her boss, whose name is Zoannon, and that she was basically tasked to kill the doctor, which she hasn't done. And they're basically, through some bizarre dreams she's been having, in concordance with some weird sound she keeps hearing, she actually starts believing this. The doctor soon winds up on this other liner, using it as bait to try to get a hold of the creatures, but they're already on the ship as passengers. This worries them to no end because they're pretty much sure they're walking into a trap, and yes, they are. Because the inspector's boss is a man by the name of, what was it?
I forget his name.
Don't remember.
But whoever it is, it's actually the master.
I believe it was Turkish or something for master.
Yeah, it was Turkish for master.
Effendi.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's basically set this all up as an elaborate plan to kill the doctor. And, of course, to get all the money, bullion, and whatever on there, and eventually betray the insect aliens. But the insect aliens read the doctor's mind and realize that that Effendi will eventually betray them, like he has every other alien race out there, and turn on him. This does not stop Leela from attempting to kill the doctor, but without the assistance of the psychic wave that these creatures use, she's able to break out of it, stop it, and ruin the master's plans. He's barely able to escape in the TARDIS. However, she does manage to get a hold of the little psychic device that the master was using to prime his TARDIS, and use this mental control device, and he manages to use it. The doctor manages to prime it and use it to shut down turn the mental power on the master, wasn't it?
To turn the mental power against the
aliens
the mantises, and shock them into being comatose until police arrive.
Yeah, until the police arrive, and that's basically where we ended it. And of course, all this time, Leela's having to deal with all this, cross-reference to her history and thinking that it's making her weak, and the doctor manages to convince that no, it's actually because of her strength that she succeeded at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
All right. You ended it at 4 minutes, 8 seconds.
Okay. All right. So, we'll move on to what we liked about the episode overall. And Tim, you're first.
Oh boy, I get to take someone. Okay. I was a big fan of Louise Jameson in this episode. Her performance, dealing with her dream sequence, the reaction to like the subtle shift in her personality, like from being under the master's control to like herself again, and the coming to terms with her own perceived weakness and overcoming it, like not just with the doctor's help, but on her own, as a stronger person. I really liked her arc in this episode, and it makes me want to go and watch the TV episode that this is based off of.
We'll get
The Face
to
of
that
Evil?
eventually.
We'll get there. The Face of Evil.
Yeah. By the way, had I known that this was going to tie in so closely to the Face of Evil,
Probably watch that first.
yes.
Yeah, or we would have picked something different. I didn't know either.
Yeah, because none of even the descriptions didn't actually mention any of that. So. All right. Yeah, Louise was good in this. Matt, how about you?
Overall thing I liked.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll go with Tom on this one.
Took mine.
Tom was definitely playing himself again. He was all the way through it. He was back in his comfy shoes again, and his comfy scarf.
Yes, indeed, he was. In fact, back in. I could barely tell at times that this was being filmed now,
Yeah,
as
he
as
did a
opposed to.
he sounds exactly what he needed to sound like his old self again. He's obviously feeling his youth again in that booth.
Yeah. Especially from like scene one onward, I could hear it. There was personality and inflection. He knew how to play himself again.
Mm-hmm.
And he was playing off, and he played off the Master and Louise and all the others very well throughout.
Yes, he's unbelievably back. I'm listening to that. I'm like, wow, he sounds like it. It's like he never left. Freaking tear coming out of my eyes. Okay, Aaron. We've had Louise. We've had Tom. What's next?
I'm gonna go ahead and say that I actually enjoyed the monsters.
Oh
The
yeah,
giant praying mantises. They were also metallic, weren't they? They were kind of like
they were
robots.
more or less a living metal. Yeah.
Yeah, a living metal. So
Living
and I
metal.
enjoyed how kind of intelligent they seemed. Right? They had to
Well, they had psychic abilities for one, so
They
you
had
have to
psychic
already be on a
abilities,
level
and
there.
they were able to turn back on the master. They weren't just some dumb brutes. They were like, "Hey, we know
They
what
weren't.
you're
Yeah,
up
they
to.
weren't just upset about the Master failing them.
Now
They
it's our
legit
turn.
figured out what he was up to.
Yeah, now it's our turn to control you." So, and they sounded, they're that was a downside to them, that they sounded kind of like the Cybermen a little bit, but
They sounded like the Mondasian Cybermen in particular.
yeah.
In fact, I'm pretty sure Nicholas Briggs did this for Big Finish and then
Would be
turned around and went
surprised.
to me.
Yeah, that would explain
Hey,
Mhm.
guess what voice I learned to do?
it.
Well, I don't think it's quite as elaborate as the Mondasian Cybermen.
I don't think it's quite as robotic, but there's a little more inflection in them. But if you went a touch more robotic, then yeah, you'd have the Cybermen right there.
And
It's like if you weren't trying to do like that sing-song inhuman
he
quality.
was doing that though. He
Mhm.
was.
Hmm.
Because I heard it when he was talking. And
I
I'm
know,
like,
it was different enough for me, but I'm sure if we put them side to side, it'd be like, oh dear.
I'm like, I'm sitting there going, yep, Nick Briggs did this voice, and it's basically his Cyberman voice. Okay. And it hadn't occurred to me until a few minutes ago that this probably came before his Mondasian voice, and probably A led to B.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a little bit off-putting to me. I was going to mention that in negatives, but Erin had to address it in her positives. Bill, you're up.
I think I'm going to go with the whole concept of the master trying to steal a companion and convince them that the doctor is their enemy.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I've kind of played around with in a few ideas, and I think the way that this one was done is one that particularly kind of fits with Leela's character as the huntress. The one for whom being an assassin would come natural, and I think as a result that worked very well.
Also, the one that would have the fewest moral compunction about killing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. For me, well, I was going to say Tom. But I will just say that Jeffrey Beavers himself did a very good job, because there's not much else.
I was joking.
He's still a very good master right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's still slimy and evil.
Yes. And I mean, especially if you know what he sounds like, he's fairly obvious the second you first hear him. It's like, that's the master.
Yeah, they obviously hide him behind a name, but you could tell by both the music and the sound of his voice. Oh, it's the master.
And I'm sort of becoming convinced that Jeffrey Beavers was the ideal master for audio.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly. Outside maybe Delgado himself. I'm pretty sure Delgado could have done it for audio really well too, but
Well, yeah,
Beavers
but
is owning it in audio.
well, yes, Jeffrey Beavers also has the benefit of still being alive.
The
Yeah.
masters, yes.
Yeah, you can't say that about Delgado, and you can't say that about Ainley. So.
Mm-hmm. So he's got his own little pocket, and he's owning it. He's owning every minute.
I am wondering what it will be like with Michelle when Michelle Gomez gets to reprising her role as the Master for Big Finish without being on the Stephen Moffat set.
Mm-hmm. That will be interesting.
Actually, now that I say that, I mean, I originally kind of dismissed the idea of John Sim, but when you consider his most recent performance, when he got a chance to tone it down and be a little more sinister, that version of his master could be
Could be easily come back for a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we wouldn't mind seeing it either, especially after that last performance where he's not playing off the top. Although every now and then having one where he is a little off the rails would be cool.
Yeah, having a little moment here or there, just like, oh, sorry, I'm still kind of coping. Anyways,
the Skeletor Chronicles.
He-Man.
Just having that moment where that'd be great if he has that, and then suddenly just goes off into this insane tangent, and you actually hear him visibly restrain himself. Which is like, oh, sorry.
Sorry,
what are you doing?
I just recently regenerated. It's an off day.
What are you doing? You just ate that crewman. Sorry.
I'm off my meds again. All right.
Am I in the suit? I must be off my meds again.
Okay.
Sorry.
So let's go with what you didn't like, and Tim, you're up first.
Okay. My least favorite thing about this episode is the supporting cast without except for the bug people. The bug people were fine, but the guards and the insurance company people.
Damn it, Tim.
I didn't like just because I don't remember them at all. Like I know they were in the story, but I couldn't. They left no impression on me whatsoever.
It's because they were generic spaceship crew people from like every story.
Generic, yeah.
The generic.
Basically, I think this whole story was carried by the main three. When you get down to it,
pretty much, yeah.
I was going to say in between the thing, you can tell a story that's kind of dry and lacking in standout qualities when every returning cast member is mentioned as somebody's favorite aspect.
Yeah.
Not too sure about that, but
that usually means there aren't unusual standout things to mention.
It's hard to say. I actually like this better than I liked the previous two, but talk about that later. So Matt, how about you?
Overall bad thing. I can't really think of too many things that aren't already covered or about to be covered because I know one of the ones I had was about to be covered soon here too. So I think I'll actually pass and let everyone else cover it. I'll join in if I have any other observations.
Okay, Aaron?
I'm going to have to take a pass too.
All right, Bill?
Yeah, mine was taken.
All right. Well,
actually, no, yeah. I'm not sorry at all.
Aaron did kind of bogart mine, and that was the fact that, like we mentioned, the villains' voices were pretty much Mondazian Cybermen for me. They got less as they left on, but the first time you hear them, I swear you could hear that buzzing sing-song tone when they spoke, and I'm like, seriously? We're trying to expect this not to be the Cybermen now? What?
Well, they are metallic
Actually,
people.
No. Actually, no. I take that back because Nick Briggs had already done this voice for Spare Parts.
Oh,
At the time
yeah.
he did that. So, yeah, he basically recycled his Mondasian Cyberman voice.
And tried to...
So, yeah.
He thankfully, towards the last half, started to break from it, but...
Yeah, it came out way too close to the Mondasian Cyberman. If you have to recycle your voices to try to come up with a new alien, it's time to have someone else voice the aliens. I hate to say this.
Again, I didn't notice it as much because there's a bit more feeling to it, but at first, yeah, there's not much to them right away, initially.
Mm-hmm.
Just metallic voice, and they buzz a bit.
They can't afford another cast member. They spent all the budget on lunch.
Not lunch!
Okay, so favorite scene. And, Tim, you're first.
Okay, I believe my favorite scene is the scene where Leela first wakes up in the luxury thing, and like they're trying to pull the wool on her the first time. I think that was very well done.
They tortured her with a comfy chair.
Yes.
It's a scene we're bitching about.
Yes. But the scene was saved by Louise Jameson again.
Oh yeah, Louise Jameson acted properly. It's just I don't know. It's the buzzing of those voices. I might hear it in my sleep tonight. All right, Matt, how about you?
I'm guaranteed to steal a favorite on this one. No, Leela, you're not an idiot. Matter of fact, you're probably the smartest person right now for outdoing the master. Just that whole little speech between the doctor and Leela at the end, because the doctor has to admit to her that he's never actually seen someone outpower the master like that before.
Wasn't mine, but yeah, it was a good scene.
It's a very nice scene. It was a nice touching little moment between doctor and companion that you don't always get to see.
Mm-hmm. All right, Aaron?
I'm going to go ahead and say, don't tell me you're a master of disguise. I actually had to write down the quote for it because it was just so...
It was a great pun.
Yeah, that was the Tom quote, yeah.
Yeah,
Don't tell
that
me
was
you're a master of
just,
disguise.
even if you don't see the rest of the scene, that was just great.
Because he knew, and that was his way of telling him, yes, I know it's you. Take off the goddamn mask, because it's you. It's always fucking you.
It's always you. No matter what mask you put on, you can never hide your intent.
So it's you. Only you could be this cheesy. Okay. Bill, how about you?
So this was favorite scene. I'm going to go with the scene where the master comes out as Zoannon to Leela.
And tries to convince her to kill the doctor? Or
Yeah.
actually convinces her. All right,
Yeah,
that was a good scene.
Yep.
Well, she doesn't succeed, but convinces her to try. Yeah.
Right.
Um,
She didn't slap him that time.
Because he wasn't a fake.
Mm-hmm. So my favorite scene is the right when Leela, right at the beginning of the episode, right in the beginning of the story, when Leela first wakes up from the nightmare and starts talking to the doctor. Because it literally was, I'm sitting here listening to them, and the dialogue was just perfect. The patter was perfect.
Mm-hmm. And the doctor just obviously tells something's off, and he knows she's not saying something.
Mm-hmm. But is respecting her choice
Privacy,
not to say anything. He just sounds perfect, though. I can actually see the scene in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And it was beautiful.
You just see some background props in your imagination, and she's in one of the TARDIS beds. Yeah.
Yeah. So I absolutely adored that scene. So that was it for me. Worst scene. Okay, so Tim, you are first.
Okay, I think the worst scene for me was just the throwaway line that the doctor said, "Or we'll end up dead like your father." Like, wait, what?
Well, the thing is,
I
when
think
that's head when he says that, and I say says in quote, there's a weird echo track to say that that's actually just happening in Leela's mind. She's hearing that. She's hearing that due to a psychic override, bringing up that dead father again.
all right. Well, I think that could have been a bit clearer then.
I thought it was pretty blatant myself, but maybe you just missed it.
Yeah, probably missed it. I'm sorry. I'm a bad boy.
You're a naughty boy. Naughty, 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 naughty.
Naughty.
All right. Matt, how about you?
Least favorite scene. I'm as much as I enjoy that they caught on to him instead of him bumbling like an idiot. It did seem to underpower the master a bit that the bad guys of the piece are just like, yes, we figured you out. We're gonna stop you now. And it's just like, oh no, not again. The master's just getting undercut by his own minions once more.
That is kind of the running theme for the master.
Well, it seems like he never learns, does he?
Nope. Okay. Aaron.
I don't think I really had one. I actually just really liked this one.
All right.
Take another
Bill.
pass.
I'm going to go with, what, you still like gold? Of course I like gold. I thought people got stopped liking gold. Well, I like gold. Oh. Because unless I missed something that contributed absolutely nothing. Like, I don't get why.
Well, yeah, it mostly just dragged the plot out a little, or dragged the time out a little bit. All
It was
right.
a fluff piece.
So mine is, I think it's in the second episode where the inspector charges in, and it's like, "Do not move, everybody." You know, he basically delivers the standard cop line, and he delivers it absolutely flat. There's no inflection to the voice. It's just, I'm sitting here, it's like, wow, that was the most unenthusiastic read I've ever heard. And that's the one you went with, huh, guys? Okay. And,
It was
you know,
so
it was
flat,
just,
it was 5 weeks past expiration.
it was so flat, I'm like sitting here going, wow. Wow, I've heard more emotion coming out of Stephen Wright. And this is a man known for his deadpan, no emotion voice. Okay. Well, that's it. Anything else anybody wants to say about this this thing?
Okay.
Anybody?
Anything
Anybody?
else worth mentioning?
Bueller. Anybody? Speaking of flat voice, I think
Someone
I
should
can do
write a theme song for Leela called "The Remarkable Leela."
Let's not say we did.
I think I can do a flat voice. I will continue to do a flat voice for the rest of this episode. So let's give your final thoughts. Tim?
Final thoughts. This was a serviceable but still run-of-the-mill thing that with flat supporting characters, but it was made up for by the big three, and especially Louise Jameson. So, I'd recommend this only if you're a hardcore Doctor Who fan.
All right, Tim. Thank you very much. Matt?
Quick bit from the chat. Wow, Stephen Wright references up in here. Overall, I think there's some minor flaws, but only very minor. For the most part, this was a very enjoyable little romp, and it was over before I felt like it should have been done, but it was not something that overstayed its time, so I felt like it did a pretty good job of what it wanted to do in only 2 parts.
Thanks. Aaron?
I do enjoy that this was pretty concise, but it also played up Leela's background. I felt that the acting was very well done. And to be honest, I do actually kind of remember some of the side characters. I remember Calbert,
Mm.
even though he kind of dies at the end.
Yeah, he died pretty pointlessly.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and Evil Leela was actually pretty creepy and fun. I recommend it.
Thanks. Bill?
I enjoyed the whole Leela Doctor Master stuff. The rest of it was kind of run of the mill and very forgettable. I think if this was in another format with longer stories, they might have been able to flesh out the mantises and the crew a little bit more. As it is, I think they kind of drag it down and make it a little more run of the mill. Uh, the Leela plot was good, but other than that, I mainly find it not that great, kind of forgettable rest of the episode.
All right, thanks. So I find this episode to be largely a Leela vehicle, meaning it basically just does a whole bunch of character development for Leela, and every other part of the plot is secondary. The characters are all kind of one-dimensional and forgettable, except for the main characters, which are their wonderful normal selves. The aliens are also kind of one-note aliens that we haven't seen before and will probably never see again. And they sound just like the Cybermen, which is kind of a minus, because you could have used the Cybermen and had as much of a response. I like this episode, but I don't think it's going to go down as the greatest thing ever. So, scores. Tim, you are first.
I will start off and give this a 3.5.
Same as last week. Okay. Matt.
I'm gonna give this a 4.
Matt gives this a 4. Aaron?
I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 4.
All right. Bill?
I'm actually going to say a 3 for this one.
Worse than last week's. Okay. I myself am going to give it a 4 because I do believe that the character development and action outshadows the one-dimensionalness of the rest of it.
Yep.
That will give it out to an average of 3.7.
Calculating.
I have to make sure it went through.
Sorting. Finalizing.
And at 3.7, that will put the evil one at number 137 out of 236.
Ooh.
It is on par with Master, which we did a couple weeks ago, War Doctor the Innocent, Destroyer of Delights, Smile, The Claws of Axos, The Daleks, The Moonbase, and Flatline. It is better than Sarah Jane Adventures The Gift, Resurrection of the Daleks, Full Circle, Tomb of the Cybermen, The Woman Who Lived, Dust Breeding, The Doctor, the Widow, the Wardrobe, and Class Detained. It is not as good as Power of the Daleks, The Time Monster, Extremis, Pyramid at the End of the World, Lie of the Land, Robot of Sherwood, The Red House, Day of the Daleks, End of the World, Daleks Invasion Earth 2150, The Girl in the Fireplace, Sarah Jane Invasion of the Bane, Enemy of the World, Ghostlight, Boomtown, and Keeper of Traken. So at 137 out of 236, that's all we have to say about the evil one. And yes, Big Finish, I'm available if you want me to voice one of your flat one-dimensional characters, as I think I've just proven I can do.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, that was good.
All right, so if you enjoy listening to us, thanks for listening, and well, thanks even if you hated us, I guess. But why would you still be listening? And don't forget to subscribe to us on Twitch and YouTube. You can also like and follow us for news and updates on Facebook and Twitter. And if you want to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/unearthlypodcast.
All right, so next week we go simultaneously forward and backward to a more recent Big Finish audio adventure during the First Doctor era. We will listen to the First Doctor adventures, The Destination Wars, written by Matt Fitton and starring David Bradley as the Doctor, Claudia Grant as Susan Foreman, Jamie Glover as Ian Chesterton, Gemma Powell as Barbara Wright, and James Dreyfus as the Master.
See you all next week.
See you then.
Bye bye.
Good
Fare thee
night.
well.